So on moving the ball forward, this is a conversation I find myself having with different people in different situations in life, but it's all the same. It's all the same principle. It all comes down to finding a way to turn misfortune to your advantage, and finding a way that no matter what your circumstances are, no matter how bad you're fucked up in life, like finding a way to go to bed better than when you woke up. And I think this is really when you study, whether it could be like Seneca, it could be anyone that's gone through, the list of hardships is really not that long. And that's why I say, like, you study the Greeks, you study Seneca, you study Marcus Aurelius, whoever it is that you vibe with. Like, you get banished into exile, you lose all your money, you lose your family, like you lose your title. Like you lose your job. There's really not that many, the list is not that extensive. Like, the way I say it is that all of man's problems are as old as time itself. Right? But the key is, like, once you end up in one of these circumstances, the way you keep your head about you is you always want to find some way to kind of look around and be like, all right, here's where I am right now. Here's the resources I have at my disposal. How can I find a way to improve myself or improve my situation given the constraints that I have on me right now? And so this, I think, the more biographies you read, the thing that stands out, and this is almost like, for some reason Seneca came to mind, but this is one of those things where I always try to cite my sources, but here it's the list of sources has grown so large. Like, you just see it across like 20, 30, 40, 50 biographies that have kind of, I don't want to say it's common sense, because this definitely isn't shit that I knew when I was younger. And I think you also learn that common sense is really not that common. But I think the more you study sort of the rhythm of life and the way that the way that men's and women's lives are shaped from start to finish, what you see as a common thread is that they always find a way to emerge better from whatever it was that they went through before. It's almost like they say, like, a cat has 9 lives, right? But it's not even about that they have 9 lives. It's just when you study the sequence of their life, each setback, all the adversity they went through ends up being what propels them to get to the next level. And so I've kind of been scribbling some notes down, really just whether it's from like Twitter DMs or texts or people I'm on the phone with. I find myself kind of going back to the same principles, mostly 90% from other people and maybe like 10% from myself. But, I'm pretty humble about the fact, like, I'm not shit. My opinion's not worth shit. I always try to default to other people when I can. And so I'll try to do that here. But I've been trying to break it down into whether it's 5, 10 principles. And I have a feeling like this will be a multi-part thing. So, number one, when I say keep moving the ball forward, keep showing up to life, like, the biggest thing I've tried to put it into 4 buckets, right? Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. So you really want to go to bed bigger, faster, and stronger than when you woke up. That's the physical part. That's pretty straightforward. I think people know that. Whether they do it is another thing. I think almost like getting in front of criticism, I think a lot of people might hear this and be like, oh, you're not saying anything new. But, like, the truth, bro, there is nothing new. Again, all man's problems are as old as time itself. Like, all this shit has been figured out 2,000 years ago by the Greeks, and everyone's just been repeating them in different forms since. So, am I saying anything new? No. But, like, eventually you're going to realize that the more you keep looking for something new, you're not going to find it. You're going to eventually arrive at the same destination that many people before you have. So whether I convince you of that or whether you find it on your own in books, great. But there's always going to be someone promising you something new, and it's either not going to work or you're going to realize, like, a lot of the generation after generation, people keep looking for new things when the answers are all found in old books, and no one reads the books anyway. So that's how we keep getting here. So that's physical. Mental, I think the best way to think about that, for me, I think it's reading books. If you can get up, like, let's say you're unemployed, right? If you can still get up in the morning, go to the gym, and then spend a couple hours reading books that day, when you go to bed that night, you had a good day. Like, that's about as good. That's because you're going to wake up. You're going to bed bigger, faster, stronger than you were when you woke up, and smarter and sharper, hopefully wiser if you're reading the right books. So that's physical and mental. And I think even no matter, bro, you could be in a fucking jail cell in the middle of nowhere. If you get in a good workout and you spend like 2, 3, 4 hours reading books, like, I don't know. It's funny because when I use the phrase moving the ball forward, I've actually wrote an essay about this, kind of examining what it means to move the ball forward. Because what happens once you loosen your definition of what that exactly means, you'll look back at years of your life when you were working hard. But I think I used the example, like, I think 20. I don't know. I don't want to single out a year because that's going to get too specific. But you'll look back at a year of your life and you'll realize, like, all right, I worked my ass off. I made a bunch of money. I used that money to pay bills. Maybe I saved a little bit of it. But did I really move the ball forward that year? Like, did I grow as a person? Did I gain, like, valuable experience that helped me for the rest of my life? And you'll realize that if you have like a good job or a good career or a good boss, yeah, you probably developed yourself mentally, or you have like really good mentorship. But there's also a lot of years to look back on. Like, damn, bro, like, I really didn't get shit done that year. Like, I slept around, I drank, I did a bunch of drugs, I worked. Like, but what did I really move the ball forward? Not really. And so a lot of the times when you think about how you discarded your prior notions or like developed a new view of the world, a lot of it really comes from books. And it's funny, it's never one book. A lot of people are like, oh, what are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books I should read that'll help me think differently? And it doesn't work like that. If you sit back and you evaluate how your own mind state has evolved, it's not one book. It's like the cumulative effect of hundreds of books, and it becomes impossible to parse out which one did which. It all keeps kind of building on itself. And so that's physical and mental. And one thing I struggle with, I really don't know if there's an answer to this, but I'll lay it out. Like, I was talking to someone who's in his early 20s, and he's kind of going through it right now. I don't need to get into the details, but I don't think he reads a lot of books. So I'm kind of telling him, like, read books. And I don't know, like, I'm super grateful to my parents for many things, but one of the main ones is that ever since I was little, I always had a book in my hands. So for me, it's natural, right? Like, anything else my parents did wrong, I think I forgive almost all of it because they made sure I was physically active and they made sure I had a book in my hands. And I think if you can raise a kid to make sure he's always doing those two things, like moving around and reading, he or she is probably gonna end up all right. And you show him love and you're present. I think those 4 things: love, presence, physical exercise, and books. Like, you're gonna end up with a human who probably ends up doing all right for himself, or at least when they fuck up, they're able to bounce back because they have the important building blocks in place. But what I struggle with when I'm talking to people who don't really read, and I don't mean to sound like elitist or like a prick or a snob or anything like that, but I'm always alarmed at how many highly educated, like, white collar types who went to really good colleges, like, don't read books. It's just never been a part of their daily routine or weekly routine. Some days you don't have time to read. And so that's why, for me to sit here and say read books, I really don't know if these words are registering. Like, I don't know if you can find a 35-year-old man who hasn't been reading books and be like, hey, bro, you should read books. And they'll start reading books. I think this might be, and again, I don't know, I'm being completely open about, trying to be open about knowing what I don't know. I don't know if you can put the habit of reading books into a grown-ass man's mind if he hasn't been in the habit of reading books. So I don't know. So I'll put it out there anyway, just because I think, again, as you read books, if you study biographies, it's just the one, whether it's Charlie Munger or Warren Buffett, these motherfuckers always have a book with them. Always. It's one of those traits that you see no matter how many people you study. Like, always had a book tucked under his arm. And now the fact that you have an iPhone where the cumulative sum of all human knowledge is available to you at all times in this iPhone. Not to mention the fact that any book that's over 95 years old is public domain, so it's free. So it's any book, and all the good books are older than 95 years old. So you have this iPhone which has all of this in it. I think there's a great quote from The Fall where he says, "It's not knowledge is everywhere. It's a desire to learn that's scarce." And I couldn't agree more with that. So that's physical, mental. The emotional is a little bit harder. I've tried to like, how do you grow emotionally? The more I try to put put words to this. I realize it's not as measurable as physical or mental. Like physical, you look in the mirror and you see yourself and you've either grown or not. Mental, you can kind of gauge whether you're viewing things the same way. And you can kind of see it from like how your relationships change around you. Emotionally, I think the best thing I've got is that the body and the mind are really like a machine. And so if you go to bed at the same time every day, you wake up at the same time every day, the more that you can kind of have this little like bubble of habits around you where you do the same things at the same time every single day, you work out at the same time, go get sunlight at the same time, the more you can kind of maintain regularity with that, the more stable your emotions tend to be. And I'm not really going to push the sobriety thing too hard because it's just not the kind of thing you can convince someone else to do. But I think one thing you notice when you stop drinking alcohol especially, is your emotional volatility like disappears. And it's crazy. It's one of those things it takes a few months, but you realize you're like, holy shit, like why was I doing this to myself? Like just to fit in, I guess. So again, I won't push booze and drugs too hard, but all I'll say is that all booze and drugs, all they do is make you mentally unstable. Like I guess the way I would say it is that if you want to get high, you gotta be ready to come down. And that applies even for whether it's like prescription pills, any of that shit. I really think that it's almost impossible to know yourself and to know your own mind while you're messing around with all that stuff. So that's physical, mental, emotional. The last one is spiritual, which I think a lot of the like recovery material does a good job framing it as a higher power, right? So whether you believe in God or not, like you got to believe in something greater than yourself, I think. And it's, again, I don't think this is one of those things that I can impress upon you as the listener or the reader. You kind of got to find your own path. Like I'm 39 now, and I've definitely seen like amongst my group of friends, like there's guys who believe in God and there's guys who don't. The guys who believe in God, like they've been through some shit. There's no other way to get there, I think. Whether you've gotten fucking folded by life, or just like, I don't know. There's got to be, if you've kind of lived your life like just living on the couch, not really doing shit, you're not gonna believe in God. He's not gonna find you. You have to really, you got to be up against it, where like you're really not sure if you're gonna wake up the next day, to be honest, or like you're so incredibly fucked up. But then something happens where you realize, oh my God, this happened for a reason, right? Like all of these bad things had to happen for me to end up going down this correct path. So those are the 4: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. I think the next thing I would say is that if you find your life at a stop, like you want to make all the changes at once. And when I say the changes, I think everyone in the back of their mind has like a list of things that they know they should be doing. Whether it's like, oh, I should stop drinking, or like I'm in a bad relationship, I'm dating the wrong person, I'm married to the wrong person, like I need to get out of this. What I found is that when your life has come to a stop for whatever reason, and I'm going to kind of leave that vague, I think I found that by me getting overly specific, sometimes that, the listener might say, oh, this doesn't apply to me. Whereas if I leave it vague, your mind is going to wrap itself around, oh shit, this is specific to my situation, right? Like I don't really know your own circumstances. But I would say that when you are already in this mode of like, all right, I'm on the ground, I'm covered in broken glass, I'm picking up pieces, I'm trying to figure out like what goes where. If you're already in that mode, I think it makes a lot of sense to, I don't know if I want to say burn everything down, because that kind of implies, you don't want to be like hurting other people. But it's definitely, once you're in that mode mentally and you're already reconfiguring shit, the best thing to do is you can even do it in one day. You can sit down and be like, all right, tomorrow's going to suck. Here's all the shit that I need to be doing. Like I need to move like these relationships around. I maybe move to a new city, new state, new something. You generally know in the back of your mind, I think people in general, you always know in the back of your mind what needs to be done. And it always comes down to having either the courage or the discipline or just the willpower to get it done. Because otherwise it's very easy to go through life just like delaying, and you get stuck in inertia and the status quo. And you're in a bad situation, but you're just like, nah, I don't feel like dealing with this. And I think it's one of those regrets where when you read like memoirs or reflections from older people, always like, damn, like why was I so afraid to live my own life? Why was I trying to live a life that other people wanted me to live? Why was I so afraid to just follow my own gut instinct? Because you realize it always ends up being right in the end. You run into these conflicts, these internal conflicts mentally, where your gut says do one thing and other people say do something else. And as time passes, you realize that your gut was right. And going against your gut, you always feel like it's the ultimate betrayal. So I think it's a pretty simple concept, this one. Again, make all the changes at once. If you find yourself, in a position where this is one of those things where how you turn misfortune to your advantage, right? Like one or two things goes wrong, and this is where you just flip the table, right? Flip the all the chess pieces go flying everywhere. You say, fuck it. Like we're just going to rebuild however these things land. And so I think, I don't really know how, again, I can't put the willpower in you, but for lack of a better term, sometimes you got to grab your stones and just start walking forward and walk through hell. So that's that one. The next one I would say, and this came from my high school football coach, really, anyone who's played high school football, but you got to put a lot of helmets on the ball. And what that means is a lot of times you wake up and you're fucked up and you're looking for the one magic switch that's going to make everything okay. And it doesn't work that way. It's really, you need to wake up and be willing to throw 5, 10 things at yourself. And that's how you make your mood and your emotions and your mental state lift. And I think this actually comes from the Greeks, where they talk about the weather of your mind. You wake up, like it's stormy, it's cloudy, you can't, a lot of times you wake up with like brain fog. That's a pretty common way of putting it that I hear from a lot of people, like the path forward just isn't clear. The other way I like thinking about it is that a lot of your mood and your attitude is like wearing a pair of sunglasses. And I think if you were to think about what depression is, it's when you're wearing a pair of very dark tinted gray sunglasses where nothing looks right, nothing feels right. All the joy has gone out of life. And whether, I don't want to get too into depression because everyone has their own, people get really touchy about like, no, this is what it is. And it's like, bro, no one knows what the fuck it is. For me, I would say it's like a deep sadness. And it's usually something that you can, in rare cases, it's genetic. Like sometimes when you meet someone who has like a family history of depression, that you see what real depression is like, like their father, their grandfather, it's something that they struggle with their whole life. And so I think a lot of people are too quick to bucket something as chronic when it's really acute, right? Like you have something fucked up in your life. Sometimes it's deep in your subconscious, you just don't know, but you got something that needs to be sorted out, and your life will improve and your mood will improve once you sort that out. And I think the same goes for anxiety too. It's usually, there's almost always some cause to this. But again, this is the kind of thing where like when I have these conversations, people will push back. They're like, no, I'm clinically depressed. Like you don't get it. I need to be on pills. And so I'm not going to fight with people on this. Like you're free to believe whatever you want to believe. Personally, I've always found that there's something that you need to face, whether it's like a fear or there's some situation looming over your head that you're being a coward about, and you need to just run towards that. And that's what lifts a lot of the brain fog and lifts whatever seems to be weighing on your mood. Instead, it's usually from people like running from the truth. So that's what I mean by when it comes to changing the tint of the sunglasses or changing the weather of your mind, right? A lot of times it's like you want to wake up, you want to go to the gym. For me, like listen to something with high BPM, where it's like either hip hop, rap, or house music, whatever it is. Like, get in the gym, start moving around, start sweating, drink a lot of water. You're breathing deep, and then after that, if you can, like always try to go for a walk outside. Try to catch a sunrise if you can. Like circumstances change. Sometimes your life just isn't in a position where you can do that. But try to watch the sunrise. Say good morning to God. Like, be grateful that you're alive. Text your mother that you love her. Text your boys. Tell them to get the fuck up. Stop being pussies. Go to the gym. All that shit. And it's usually, I find that, I'm up pretty early, usually like 4:30. And I've just become like a creature of habit. Like I'm in bed 8, 9. And I just wake up like between 4 and 4:05. It just happened. My alarm is for 4:30, but I can't remember the last time that I slept to the alarm. This is what I mean by this is what I mean by emotional stability. Like I feel very, when I'm on this routine, I have very little emotional variability. So whenever I get off this, usually when it's like travel or something like that, that's when I can kind of feel that I'm not treating my body and mind like a machine. And that's kind of where a lot of what I'm saying is rooted from. Like I don't know if I would say it's like A/B testing, but I definitely pay very close attention to like what are the kind of natural factors that change how clear and how serene and how calm I feel on a given day. And it really comes down to the basic ones. It's like sleep, diet, and exercise. Less diet, but really sleep and exercise. And so the more you can wake up like early. So let's say I wake up at like 4. You go through all these things. By the time it's like 6 or 7, and you've gone through this entire routine of basically old solutions, like nothing is new here. Physical exercise, sun, nature, God, like gratitude, love for friends, love for family. So that's why I say put a bunch of helmets on the ball. This is what when a high school coach tells you about gang tackling, right? When you got one guy in the ball, you still want all 11 helmets flying for the ball. And so I found that thinking about it like that, once you kind of stack all these things, you realize there is no one magic solution, but you put them all together and suddenly you have something. You know, most of the time by 7, 8 o'clock, I'm just in a great mood every day, especially a lot of times on the weekends. I'll try to, I'm in Florida, which is, I don't want to say it's a life hack, but it's pretty damn good. You're always pretty close to the ocean. And so if you can find some time, if I can always find like a half hour free during the day, even if it's during lunch, to just like go for a run, like go jump in the ocean and come back and then finish working. It's really hard to be in a bad mood, no matter how bad my life has been, right? This is kind of what goes back to the Greeks where your external circumstances are going to change. But the more you can almost have this protective bubble, I guess is the way I would put it, of your habits, of your core, of the things that you know you're going to do every day to keep moving the ball forward, no matter what's going on in your life, right? And so as long as you can keep going to bed every night being like, you know what, like that was a shitty day from kind of the external things that I can't control. But in terms of what I can control, like had a great lift this morning, spent 2 hours reading a good book, like spent 2 hours on the phone, catching up with one of my best friends I haven't talked to in a while, just feeling good about life, you know? And this, what I think is what makes this is the secret to withstanding hardship, really. And having it kind of, you never want to let it collapse you. You can let it kind of like compress you and you know, ruin you to a point. But eventually it's going to run into that protective bubble, that wall of whether it's your habits, the things you do every day, where you know that like you might go to bed and be like, damn, tomorrow's going to suck, but I know I'm going to wake up. I know I'm like tomorrow's like triceps and chest. You know, after that, I'm going to finish reading this book. I'm going to spend like an hour reading something like religious, spiritual, just to try to get me closer to God. And then like you'll see, once you kind of get all this in line, you go to bed each night, like you be the degree to which shit folds you and compresses you can only reach a certain point once you kind of have yourself in line. And the term that I use a lot is to be self-contained. And it's kind of something I look for in other people, like a self-contained man, where it's kind of, they're moving through the world, but there's only I don't want it to be perceived as like they're emotionally closed off, but they kind of, in a way that you kind of have to be a little bit. There has to be like this is what a really good friend is for. You can let your close friends into the inner reaches of your maze. But other than that, bro, like I don't think you want to, this is what I mean by that bubble. Like you want to be viewing everything around you through your own critical thought process, right? And not let things run you over. And so that's what a lot of this is about, becoming like a self-contained man. And I'll leave that phrase out there and just let you, like, because I recognize that this could be perceived and spun into a bad thing where like, you know, you have a woman who loves you and she's like, I can't get through to you. I can't reach you. You're not there. So there is a degree to which this can be taken too far. And this starts getting into like setting boundaries and like a whole nother realm of shit that is nuanced, like kind of questions with no answers and can be done right, can be done wrong. So I'm going to like leave that one there. And then the last thing I'll say, and this is especially like if you found yourself at a stop, is that nothing overwrites failure like success. And this applies for many things. Like I think if anyone who's alive, you ever been dumped, you got your heart broken, you really can't think your way and you look back and you say like, how did I get out of that? You can't really, some shit you can't think your way out of. A lot of times, like the only way to get over like a broken heart is to find someone new to fall in love with. And so this is what, there is a limit to how much rumination and introspection is a good idea, right? And so especially like if you're unemployed, you can't really think your way out of that. You got to get another job. If you start a business and it fails, you can sit there and you can learn the lessons, but your mind is never going to be, you can only recover to the point at which you failed. You need to, again, I guess, keep moving the ball forward and move higher up the mountain. And that's how you put all this stuff behind you, whether it's guilt or shame or whatever mistakes or errors are kind of plaguing you and preventing you from moving forward in life. The hard truth is that nothing overwrites failure like success. And it's just something I've learned over and over in different aspects of life. So, I have a feeling that there's going to be more that kind of comes up as I continue having the same discussion with people. But I would say for the most important thing, if you're going through it, keep moving the ball forward, keep showing up to life, and just have faith in God and have faith that you may hate, what I say a lot is you may hate the path that you took to get somewhere, but you're going to love where you ended up eventually if you play it right. Because great men, great women, they always find a way to turn misfortune to their advantage. I hope this helped and have a wonderful day.